Hey y'all, Jeff from Copa Wine Bar here, and here with our wine tip. Today, we're going to talk about Old World versus New World. Now, for the longest time, people thought Bordeaux and Chianti and Burgundy were grapes, but those are actually regions in the Old World, Europe. When they say Old World, it's Europe. But then the government says you have to grow these specific grapes in these regions if you want to put that region's name on your label. So, of course, they abide by the rules, because if you label a Bordeaux anything other than Bordeaux, you're not going to be able to fetch the same price for it, because people aren't going to know what it is, where it came from. So location was everything for the Europeans. It had its standards, it had its cachet, its status. And so status was everything in the wine world. New World comes along and says, hey, let's plant this over here, and let's plant this other grape over here, and let's do a test plot over there up on that hill. That's pretty. And they were able to just explore, plant what they wanted, because there was no rules on what grape varieties they could use, and it was literally the Wild West. So a revolution happened. They started planting whatever was appropriate for an area rather than what the government deemed it. Now at the beginning, the government in France and Germany and Spain and Italy, it deemed those grapes the perfect grapes for that area. But they didn't see just how many great grapes there were in the world, because they just didn't have access to them. They weren't as available as they are today. So they just hamstrung them. They shackled these winemakers, these estates, into growing the grapes that were allowed, and it created a standard, a benchmark, because they're all making the same grape, or making the same wine out of the same grapes. So it was apples to apples. But there was a realization, it's like, we could be doing so much more if we could grow other grapes and still call it what we wanted to call it. But the New World, they're like, yeah, this tastes great, let's grow this. That tastes terrible, let's rip those out, put something else in, and see if that works. And through that trial and error, there was a lot of stinkers out there, but there was some amazing wines being developed in these regions. So like Sauvignon Blanc, for instance, the Loire Valley only allows 3 or 4 white grape varietals to be grown in the Loire Valley. Sauvignon Blanc is kind of the lead dog there. Now, Sauvignon Blanc is grown all over California, a little bit in Oregon, but not as much. But then Washington, it's kind of funny because Washington's higher up than Oregon, but it's warmer. So they grow other varietals, but they learn that through trial and error, not the government saying, we already did all the tests and here's what you have to grow. So the importance was not where the wines were made, it was what they were made of. So the Californians, the Washingtonians, I guess you'd call them, and the Oregonians, they all started labeling their wines by the varietal, and in almost an afterthought, not an afterthought, because they knew the importance of these areas, but it wasn't as important from a marketing standpoint to put the region on the label. It was more about the grape variety. So Sauvignon Blanc is always going to be prominent. Merlot in Washington, California, it's going to be prominent. And then right under it, it's going to tell you where that Merlot was made from. Bordeaux in Saint-Emilion, this is a cooler climate. They need to grow Merlot grapes for their wines to mature because it's slightly thinner skinned than Cabernet. Well, you have to know wine to know that if it's from Saint Emilion, it's going to be predominantly Merlot. But they don't typically tell you anywhere on the label what the grape variety is. You just got to do your research and know what is allowed to grow in that area, and then what the winemakers kind of lean towards. So New World, you're going to know the grape varieties, but there has been a response from Europe. They're kind of coming around to our way of thinking. And this is from the Loire Valley, and Sauvignon Blanc is huge on this label. Used to, this would just say Loire Valley. Now, they put the grape variety on the front. Sometimes they'll put it on the back, but they're getting it. They're getting up to speed, and they're figuring out. People want to know what the grape is, because that's going to tell you more than anything, I think, the style of that wine, what it's going to be like. So, New World is going to tell you what it's made from. Old World is going to tell you where it was made. And then you got to do your research on what grapes are allowed to grow there to know what you're drinking grape-wise. So I think you can see that from a marketing standpoint, New World has kind of got it up on the Europeans. And that's why we sell probably 4 or 5 times more domestic wine here than we do purchase imported wines, because they're much more user-friendly. They're much more easy to read and know what you're going to get. So that's the big difference. Labeling, Old World versus New World. And also there's an expression of the fruit in New World. They want it to taste of the fruit that it's made from. And the Old World, because it's so important to know where it came from, they want it to taste like the soil composition of that area. So that's the difference too, big difference. New World will tell you where it's from, and it's going to tell you that it's a beautiful, bright, fresh fruit. Old World is going to tell you where it's from, and it's going to be a much more deep, layered expression of the soil that it was grown in. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I know it's a very simplified version, but I think it's important to start at the roots, if you will. Yeah. So, till next time, y'all have a great day. Appreciate you listening. Come on down, we'll do some more research. Later.